Here we have the inside of the Auto Trail Adventure 65. First we will put the step out, so literally just press and hold and it will slide out, and obviously press the top to slide it back in. Step will also automatically retract when the engine has been started. The switch above just does the light bar just here. On these models we also have a fly screen. If we now enter the van, we will firstly come to the main control panel just here. The master switch is just here, so 12 volt off, 12 volt on. Obviously power needs to be on when you're hooked up to the main supply if you want to be charging the batteries. After the master button just here, beneath it we have cabin lights. So this will turn lights on and off, or they can be individually turned on and off on their own switches. Beneath that we then have the water pump, so literally water pump on, water pump off. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler up if it's been drained down. Next we have awning light. Then we have levels. So this will display the condition of whichever battery is selected, which is the leisure battery at the moment. So this display is showing the leisure battery is being used, the time, the temperature. It's also letting us know the levels of the water tanks. This one here will basically then scroll and get into stuff. So if I now continue to press this, you will see the moment we're using the leisure battery. If I now want to swap to the vehicle battery, just press the button, and we've now swapped over and we're now running the van off the vehicle battery. Whichever battery you've selected on here whilst you're hooked up to the main supply is the battery you're charging. It will then give us temperature and humidity, and then we can then adjust the time if needed, and then back to the beginning. Next we have the Truma control panel for your heating and your hot water. To turn on, just press the button here and you'll see that we have now fired up. What I will firstly do is just return everything back to the off position. This button here just works as a back button to get you out of anything. So we will just return back to the home screen at the moment. So it's displaying the time and also letting us know that we have main supply connected. If I now press this button here, all the icons will appear, and as I rotate they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first one just here, this one is for your heating. So if I click on it, heating is off. All we now do is we rotate the button and pick whatever temperature we want it to be inside the van, and then click to store in. You will now see a little flame has appeared above it. It's just letting you know that you've now set a parameter. Whenever the actual heating is in operation, this little flame will begin to flash to let you know, and then once the temperature has been achieved, it will then go back to a solid state again. After your heating, we then have hot water. So again, click and then rotate to turn it on. So we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. We can heat it on hot, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost is extremely handy if there's more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you want a longer shower. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off because it needs to take the power. What I will now do is return it to eco, and you will now see both of them begin to flash as they build up to temperature. The next icon is power source. So we're currently using, indicated by the two lightning strikes up there, mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate the button, we can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt if we're on a low amp site. We can run in dual fuel, so a mixture of the gas supply and mains at 2, or a mixture of the gas supply and mains at 1. These settings are extremely handy during the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only use the gas as it's required. And then the last one, if you do not have main supply, is gas on its own, indicated by the little gas bottle there. But what I will do is now return it back to electricity at 2 kilowatts. Next we have the circulation fan for the heating. So currently the fan is in eco mode. What you can do is turn it up to high. If I now return and I turn off hot water and I turn off the heating and we return to the circulation fan, we can also use it to vent. So on a hot day, if you just want to circulate the air, you can do so. It has a fan speed of 1 to 10. If we now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. So literally just set a start time, then set an end time, and then just tell it what you want on within that time period. Timer on, timer off. If I now activate the timer, those settings will then apply. Obviously, if you're going to be using the timer, it helps if the clock's correct, so just literally click on here and then just set the correct time, which I'm now doing. The last icon is your settings menu. So within that we have offset, which is just for the thermostat. So if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just tweak it. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen. 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, just lets you know what software it's running. It's more for the technicians in the workshop. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these units will throw up error codes. They're usually basic stuff, so it's usually a power source issue, so it will let you know if it hasn't got main supply connected or you've run out of gas, etc. A warning triangle will appear when my finger is here. 9 times out of 10, if you rectify the problem, the error code will go out. If it isn't and you've still got stuff running, I always say it's a good idea just to turn them off because it can reassess faster when it's not doing lots of things at once. If you've done that and still no joy, I always say it's the good old-fashioned turn it off, turn it on again. Just literally hold the button in until it says off. Wait until off has disappeared on the screen, then turn it back on again. If you've still got the error code, it's always then a good idea just to do a factory reset. This particular system can be connected up to the iNet box. The iNet box is located to the rear of the van, just here. If you are going to connect up to the app, you need to obviously download the app onto your smartphone or a tablet. Once you've downloaded the Truma app, make sure the Bluetooth is turned on the device, launch the app and then follow the on-screen instructions. It will firstly ask you to come to the button up here and press it, which will then send out the Bluetooth signal and then you will connect up. Once you're all connected up, you will then be able to locally control your heating and your hot water via Bluetooth. What you can also do if you want to is add a pay-as-you-go SIM card, which goes in up the top here. Hence why the GSM light is flashing at the moment. If you then add that SIM card and register it through the app, you can then control your heating and your hot water from much further afield. Next we have the basin, and the 2 burner gas rings. They are literally push in, twist and push the igniter, just like so. And then turn back off again. Beneath that we have the oven and grill. It is push in to the left for the oven, and then if I then go back to off again, it is then push in and to the right for the grill. Nice and straightforward. And then back to off again. Beneath that we have storage. It's also the location of the water pump and gas isolation taps. They're all in the on position, and obviously they can stay like that. They're more for maintenance, but obviously you can also isolate the gas at this point here. Beneath the rear travel seats is a nice large storage space, and then we have storage all above. Next we have the Dometic fridge. On and off on this one here. We're currently using main supply. If we want to use gas, just double press. These fridges automatically ignite themselves. And then the last one is 12 volt maintain for when you're driving. At the moment, if I press this, it's going to beep at us and we're going to get a red light here because the engine isn't running. This is also what will happen if we're on any other power source and we lose it. This also works here as a gas reset. So if you've tried to light the fridge and it's failed, you can try again. Very handy if it needs to purge air out. And then we have temperature control just here, and then just push down to open the door. Above the fridge we have the wardrobe. In the wardrobe we just have the location of the fire extinguisher and the table pole. Then we have the washroom, light switch just on the outside. So we have the Thetford toilet, the bowl swivels all about. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever, and then to flush, just press the blue button just here. Level indicator for the cassette just here, so when it's completely full it will rotate fully round to red. Do make sure that the flap is closed, or otherwise the cassette will not remove from the outside. We then have the mixer tap for the shower, and then the basin just comes down like so. And then we have the vanity just here. Next we have the location of the tabletop just here. And then with the table pole, it then locates into the floor just here. We have the Avtex TV just here, and then the actual digital amplifier for the television aerial on the roof. Obviously, if you're using the telly, do make sure it's on. Off, on just here, and then control the boost here. With the Avtex telly, behaves like virtually any telly. Turn it on just here. And then obviously if you've changed location, you will need to retune it in. If it does need a retune, the quickest and easiest way of doing it is just literally by holding down this giant orange button here, and it will take you straight back to the retune menu. As you can see, and then literally just hit OK and it will then retune. And then we have all the fairly normal functions just here, television guide, etc. These televisions also have a DVD player built into them, and they also have USB connectivity just up here. Next we have the location of the solar panel controller. On the sticker here, it tells you which way this rocker switch needs to be to charge certain batteries. So at the moment you'll see we're currently using the solar panel to charge the vehicle battery. If the rocker switch is in the middle, the panel is turned off, and if we want to charge the leisure, we flick down. The indication here lets you know the condition status of the battery, so you will see that at the moment the leisure battery is as good as full, and if I flick up to the vehicle battery, you will see that this is also full. You do not need to turn the solar selector off when the batteries are full. The regulator itself will control all of that. If we now go beneath this bench seat just here, we will see the location of the leisure battery and the main 12 amp fuse. We then have the location of the Truma boiler and the drain valve to drain it down for winterization. So to drain these boilers down, all we need to do is come to this yellow lever here and flap it up like so, and then it will jettison all of the water out of the boiler. If you are fully winterizing, I always suggest that it's a good idea that once you've also drained off your fresh and your waste tank, that you then go to all of your taps and put them into the open position. That way, if there is a harsh frost, hopefully the water will then be forced out the end of the taps into icicles instead of expanding in the pipes and splitting them. When it comes to refilling the boiler, make sure that the fresh water tank is filled. Drop this back over, close the taps, turn the water pump on, and then the boiler will begin to fill. After a little while, then begin to open the taps. They'll cough and splutter as they force the air out. Once the water is then running freely, close the taps back up again, and then the system will fully prime. If we then move across to here, we can just about see the top of the consumer unit. If I now open this door here, you will see it just here. So we have the main trip switches here. So we have the individual MCBs, RCD and test button just here, and then they're labelled up here. And we have the 12 volt fuses just here, and again they're all labelled up beneath. We have isolator switches for components that use main supply. So the green button here is to turn the battery charger on and off. Obviously we want the battery charger on because we want to be able to charge the batteries when we're hooked up to main supply. And the amber one here is for the Truma heater and hot water. Again, if I turn this off, all I will do is get an error code on the control panel. This last one is full system shutdown, so if you're not using the van for long periods of time, you can press this one and it will shut the system down and kill any residual draw on the leisure battery just here. Underneath the bench seat on the opposite side is just storage.